In order, for those who care to, please rise for an opening prayer and a salute to the flag. Dr. Ward.
Father, we've just come through a weekend in which we nationally recognize the day of Thanksgiving. And so I just want to pause tonight and give you thanks and to intentionally ask you to bless this city. I'm thankful for it. Lord, I want it to be a good place for families to live and to raise kids. And so we thank you for our employees. We thank you for our staff. We thank you for our residents. And again, just ask you to bless. In the name of your Son. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm turning towards you. I brought it for you. The Republic municipal election will be held on April 3rd, 2012 to elect the mayor and 4 city council members. We have 4 seats up along with the mayor's position. Candidate filing will begin December 13th at 8 a.m. and will conclude on January 17th at 5 p.m. at City Hall. City offices will be closed on December 26th, at January 2nd, and January 16th, so make sure you mark those dates. Candidates must comply with all prevailing laws concerning eligibility and campaign financing. So I'll let everybody know that. I think we have 4 positions up, alternating as we go across. And then employee Christmas luncheon will be held December 9th at 11:30 at the community center. Council members, you are invited. Anything else? Okay. Open it up to citizen participation. Anyone wishing to speak to anything not on the agenda, please step forward, state your name, sign in, and give us your best 3 minutes. Okay. Seeing none, citizen participation closed. Need a motion on the consent agenda? Motion. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. On the financial report. Welcome, Laura. Please give us an overview.
Okay. Well, even though there is a substantial amount that I'm asking you to approve tonight, really there are 3 major expenses that are encompassed in this. One is for the street department, for the Greene County Highway Department of $73,262, and that actually includes 7 asphalt overlay projects that were completed. 50% of proceeds to the Ozarks Multi-Sports Club in a little amount over $4,600, and that was from the Tiger Triathlon and Tiger and Tiger Triathlon. It's 50% of the proceeds. And unfortunately, there was a sewer pump that needed to be rebuilt in the amount of $5,000. So those were the major expenses encompassed in this report.
Questions, comments, discussions for Laura Guy-Rice? Anything at all, Council? Need a motion to approve financial report?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Krishy, do you have anything to report from staff?
Nothing new?
Mr. Derrickson, anything new?
No, sir.
Thank you. King. Jared Keeling, nicknamed the King.
The list is lengthy tonight.
Yeah, I know. That's why I had you up here. When Brenda puts it on there and it reaches, well, almost 25, you're on, brother.
Paul the bullpen, huh?
You may have to lobby her to reduce that one.
Good evening. Future community events. November 29th, toddler tumbling from 9 to 9:45 a.m. Pre-registration is required. That is offered at the Republic Community Center for ages 2 to 5. December 1st, toddler tumbling, session 6 of that program, very popular program. We have offerings at 5:30 p.m. and 6:45 p.m. Once again, pre-registration is required. This Friday night, it's going to be cold, very cold, but we're doing our reindeer run this Friday night. It's a really a unique and a big event for us. One of the bigger night runs around here. The actual 5K starts at 7. The winter walk starts at 6:30. The winter walk is free. The 5K goes to benefit people helping people. Really good run for a really good cause. And that race starts at 7 o'clock. So December 2nd at the Republic Library is Internet Basics. I don't know why that time says 10:11 a.m., but that's a unique time. But pre-registration is required. December 3rd, this Saturday, is Breakfast with Santa at the Republic Community Center. Dollar pictures with Santa, and then also a breakfast. All that is optional. It's $3 a plate, or if you just want to bring your kids by, see Santa, and have your pictures taken with them, that's totally free. So. December 3rd, also Republic Historical Society annual home tour from noon to 6. December 5th, 12th, and 19th, Tyler Open Gym at 10 a.m. No registration is required. December 6th, All Things Festives for Adults, 6 p.m. at the Republic Library. December 8th through the 10th, Winter Blast Boys Basketball Tournament at the Republic Community Center. December 8th, Book Discussion Group for Adults, 1:30 p.m. at the Republic Library. December 9th and 23rd, Toddler Story Time, 10:30 a.m., free activity at the Community Center. No registration is required. December 14th, Racing to Read Story Time, 10 a.m. at the Republic Library. That's ages 1 to 6. December 15th, Tweens and Teens Holiday Movie Night at the Republic Library, 4:30 p.m. That's for grades 3 through 12. December 16th, Edge Mobile Class, Learn at 10 a.m. at the Republic Library. December 17th, Parents Night Out, Republic Community Center, 5 p.m. That's for ages 4 to 12. December 19th, registration for Youth Girls Winter Volleyball. That's grades 3 through 8. December 21st, Christmas Story Time at the Republic Library, 10 a.m. for ages 1 through 6. December 22nd through the 30th, Schools Out program, Republic Community Center, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's for pretty much all kids ages K through 12. December 26th, city offices will be closed in observance of Christmas. December 28th, Racing to Read Story Time at the Republic Library, 10 a.m. for ages 1 through 6. December 29th, Senior Citizen Movie Day, Republic Community Center, 2 p.m. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I don't really know how that relates to Christmas, but that's the movie. December 29th, Christmas with the Polar Express, 2 p.m. Republic Library for grades K through 5. And January 2nd, city offices will be closed for New Year's Day.
Thank you. Is that mic on?
Oh, I don't know. It does not appear to be on now.
It is. Just want to make sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Jared. Lobby Brenda for a smaller list next time. Board of Adjustments, December 1st, Capital Improvements, December 20th, Council meetings, December 12th and January 9th, and Planning and Zoning, December 19th. On to old business. Need a motion to have the final reading of Bill number 11-27. Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending ordinance number 05-26 to correct a scrivener's error.
You can most have final passage of Bill number 11-27.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Need a reading.
Read, yes.
She did, I'm sorry.
Mr. Turkey Rock?
I went blank,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Happens in Oklahoma.
Yep.
Mr. Tyson, please give us the overview.
Good evening. This ordinance will correct a scrivener's error from a previous zoning ordinance back in 2005. The legal description in the ordinance that was approved then did not describe the property that the council and everyone else understood to be subject to the rezone. This ordinance will insert the correct description.
Questions, comments, discussion from Mr. Tyson. Anything at all? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Harrelson? Aye. Councilmember Poole? Aye. Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears?
Aye.
Councilmember Groom?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Klinkenbeard?
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0. On to new business. Need a motion on your first reading of Bill number 11-30.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending Bill Number 10-49 and the subsequent related bills, appropriating from the revenue of the City of Republic, Missouri, expenditures in accordance with the fiscal year 2011 budget of the City of Republic, Missouri, and providing for adjustments thereto.
Welcome, Laura. Please give us the overview.
Okay. Well, before we can go on to the 2012 budget, we need to amend the 2011 budget for additional expenditures. I'm calling that loosely because it's actually $3.4 million in additional expenditures through the Aquatic Center. And so...
Put 'em on the spot.
So actually the reason is nothing to do with Jaron. It was due to the refunding of the bonds for the Aquatic Center. And so to record that debt service payment when the 2004 bonds were paid off, of course it has to be recorded as an expense. And to the benefit, there is a revenue to offset that. So it is a wash. Only unfortunate part is that it does affect the expenditures, and so it does raise the 2011 budget up to budgeted expenditures of $17,987,230.
Questions, comments, discussion? Anything at all? It is first read. If you have any questions, comments, or anything beyond scope, please talk to Laura or Jim. If not, we will have a second reading on that at the next meeting. Thank you, Laura. Need a motion to have the first reading of Bill Number 11-31. Motion. Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, appropriating from the revenue of the City of Republic, Missouri, expenditures in accordance with the fiscal year 2012 budget of the City of Republic, Missouri, and providing for adjustments thereto.
Welcome back, Laura. Give us the overview, please.
Okay. Now on to the 2012 budget, which you all are familiar with. You have been involved in many discussions, meetings, overseeing the budget and the presentations, and I thank you for all that. So at this time, we would like to request that on the first reading only, that the 2012 budget, including aggregate expenditures of $15,291,020, be approved on the first reading. And since we are comparing it to the 2011 budget, it does show a 15% decrease, which, as you just heard, is largely in part due to the debt service, the refunding that took place in 2011. This budget does include expenditures for water and sewer services, which comprise about 32% of the budget. Emergency services comprise about 26%. Parks and Rec is 18%. Streets and stormwater, 14%. The remainder of the budget is for support and administrative purposes. Capital outlay does comprise 8% of the budget, while debt service is 22% of the budget. So that is, as we've discussed, that is a substantial load or debt service. And changes since we have met have been integrated into this budget.
Questions, comments, discussion? Mr. Grooms?
Excluding the $3.4 million from this year rather.
Mm-hmm.
How does this compare?
It increased slightly of, I can look at this budget. We were at 17.6, about 15.6, so it's just a slight $400,000 under what we approved last year, or what was approved last year. So it's right on target.
2.5%, 3%.
Mm-hmm.
If that, we've been budgeting down since '08, anywhere from 3 to 5, sometimes 7%. So for us to even look at a budget that's increased is something. That's saying something. We've been budgeting down for years, and have been going down for years in our budget, so. Good question. Other questions, comments, discussion?
Once the budget is finished on the second read, then we'll go ahead and put together, I'll be involved in a whole lot of it. Laura will do the majority of that work, put together the budget, and if you want a complete line item budget, just, feel free to ask. The departments, of course, will get theirs, but if you want that, if you just rather prefer the summary pages, there's always a budget here at City Hall if you want to come and review one, but if you'd like a copy, we'll put whatever together that you'd like to make sure you've got any information, but there's always a copy here if you want.
Jim will read it to you if you want to. Well, that's for Daniel.
Have Jared do it.
That's
Yeah.
Jared did.
That's his story time in January.
Those kids will be asleep in about 5 minutes. Any other questions? Since the first read, if there's other questions, comments as you review this, please bring those to the next meeting or ask Laura or Jim on the way. Thank you, Laura. On to other business, resolution number 11-R-67, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the update of the corporate resolution with Commerce Bank for city purchase cards. Need a motion?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Laura, give us the overview, please.
Okay, this is just another housekeeping item that, in order for me to actually get my name and be able to transact business with Commerce Bank, need to update the corporate resolution and the signature pages.
Comments, question, discussion?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Are you finance director? Are you? Comments, questions, and discussion, Council? Anything at all? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Resolution number 11-R-68, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the approval of the organizational resolution and agreement for deposit accounts and related services with UMB Bank. Need a motion? Motion. Second. I have a motion and a second. Laura, give us the overview on this
Another
one.
housekeeping item, and that, and hopefully this is the last bank that I know of that will require such an organization resolution, and this will allow me to transact business instead of going through Jim to have him do it for me. This is with the depository accounts on UMB Bank and investments.
Questions, comments, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution number 11-R-69, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Public, Missouri, awarding the bid for trash removal services at all municipal facilities and parks and authorizing the execution of a contractual services agreement between the City of Republic and the selected contractor for said services. Need a motion?
Motion. Second.
A motion second. Welcome, Jared. Please give us the overview, sir.
Thanks, sir. Don't want to confuse this at all with the residential talk that I know you guys all know about, but this is strictly for trash removal services at city facilities. We have 12 commercial-style dumpsters and 1 card out at Animal Control. The last time we went out to bid for this service was in late 2008. That was for 2009 trash removal services. It could be extended up to 3 years, which we have done. That contract ends December 31st of this year. We decided to go ahead and competitively bid it again, and that's what we're bringing here for you tonight. Our current contract is with Allied Waste Services, and it does expire on December the 31st. So I went through the city's procedure for competitive bid process. Bids were submitted on the deadline. Via the deadline, 2 contractors replied to the bid. Once again, those were Allied Waste Services and Waste Corporation of Missouri. Is that correct? Corporation of Missouri. Thank you. I want to make sure I got that right. For 2012, the bid prices for Allied monthly fees were $850.64. Translates to $10,207.68 annually. The 2012 bid for Waste Corporation of Missouri was $743 monthly, which translates to $8,916 annually. Currently paying $11,341.20 through Allied. Did call around on the references for WCA today. Heard nothing but good on them, so I would at this time recommend we go with trash removal services with Waste Corporation of Missouri in 2012.
Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Keeley? And this contract is for how long again, Mr. Keeley?
It's 1 year, but it can once again be extended for those 2 years, so it could be a total of 3. And the contract does allow for increase in their fees, but that has to be tied to the CPI. So.
That's what I was going to ask. Thank you. Additional questions, comments, discussion? Council members, as you noticed on the resolution, as Mr. Derrickson has pointed out, it is blank with a selected and the whereas under the fourth whereas. Mr. Keeley's recommendation is to take the bid of WCA, is that correct?
Correct.
So therefore, I will need a motion to insert WCA into the resolution.
Make the motion to insert WCA in the resolution.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, that cleans up the language. Anything else, Mr. Derrickson? Okay. You're gonna read the next one. Any other questions, comments, or discussion?
I do want to add, there will be no disruption of service. They'll have those dumpsters delivered late December, so no disruption of service on our end.
Anything else, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Resolution number 11-R-70, resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri to authorize staff to certify approval for the execution of the Warren Davis Minor Subdivision Phase 3 located on the 600 block of South Main Street in the City of Republic, Missouri. Motion? Motion. Second. I have a motion and a second. Welcome, Mr. Tyson. Please give us the overview, sir.
Yes, sir. This minor subdivision, if you recall, council recently approved an ordinance that would allow for minor subdivisions to happen more than once on the same, for the same parent tract, but it was decided at that time that those would come back to council to authorize staff to approve those minor subdivisions. That's what you have here. This will be the third minor subdivision on a portion of this property. The first happening in 1987, the second in 2005, and all of the properties involved here are all within the same zoning district. They're all within the R1M single family district, and essentially what we have here is two tracts being brought into what was subject to those previous minor subdivisions, all primarily with the goal of making what is currently a landlocked and unbuildable parcel, making that buildable, so that it can have a single-family residence on it. Currently, it has no frontage on a public street and no way to get a driveway to access a public street because there isn't any access easements there. The property owners have submitted this minor subdivision and proposed to include a private ingress, egress, and utility easement that will extend from Main Street, or Highway P, as it's otherwise called, to that landlocked tract that is Tract 4 in the proposal. As I mentioned in the exhibit, that would not typically be allowed under our subdivision regulations, but in this case, staff, I believe that there's some consideration to be given here to the fact that there's an existing landlocked parcel, not one that they're proposing to create, but one that already exists.
Questions, comments, discussion from Mr. Tyson. Mr. Wilson.
On this easement, the way it looks, that's gonna take up the house on the north of it take up their driveway.
That's
Is there
correct.
concerns for that?
They have agreed with that property owner to allow that easement on their property, and they're going to record some covenants and restrictions to share that driveway location, as well as to provide some terms for maintenance and use of that easement. When this was originally proposed, I sought out MoDOT, what their opinion would be on another access point there, another driveway, and their response was that they would not be allowing any other driveways there. So the only option then was to share.
Well, the garage on that house is on the east end facing south. Just to look at the drawing, that's not gonna give them a whole lot of room to get in and out of that garage.
Well, they'll be a party to the easement as well, so they'll have full use of it. Yes.
The way I understand it, the easement that's already there, what they're using now, is mostly on the Davis property anyway.
That's correct. There's actually not an easement, but their driveway is partially...
Well, it's a driveway, it's not an easement, you're
Yes.
right. But it is basically on the Davis property already.
That's correct.
It's part of track 4 in the floodplain, Mr. Tyson.
It is not in a floodplain according to FEMA, no.
Thank you.
There is a large drainage easement in the southeast corner.
Thank you.
Very large.
So how would this be similar to a street?
It would not be similar to a street in a couple of respects, most importantly being that the easement is not being granted to the city. It's a private easement between private parties, so there wouldn't be any obligation on the city's part to construct or maintain anything. The other difference would be, because it's not granted to the public, only the parties to the easement terms would be allowed to use it.
But do you foresee them wanting to build houses back here on track?
That's one of the restrictions that's not explicitly written out here on the plat, but it would only be possible to put one house back there.
I think the only way they could go beyond one house is if they did a full-blown major subdivision,
That's correct.
in which they'd have to comply with everything in the code for a major subdivision.
Additional comments, questions, or discussion from Mr. Tyson?
How many acres are in track 4?
I believe it's slightly more than 3.
Sewer and water access easy to that location, or does it have to go through already developed property?
There's sewer and water available. Sewer is actually on tract 4. I believe water, I can't tell you for sure, but I believe water may have to go through the easement. That's why the easement is an ingress, egress, and also a utility easement.
That's your question, Mr. Harder.
But the utilities are available.
Additional comments, questions, or discussion? Anything at all, council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Resolution number 11-R-71, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic of Missouri authorizing the city administrator to enter an agreement with Trident Insurance Services to provide property and casualty insurance for 2012. Need a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Krischke, please give us the overview, sir.
Well, last year, if you remember, we approved Trident as our insurance company, and we've got a good relationship with both Trident and the agent, Greg Williams, with Connell Insurance Agency. We We went out for bid again this year for insurance. We got 3 proposals, 2 written and 1 verbal. The 2 written came from Trident, of course, who's our current carrier, and then Travelers, who has been, in the past, interested in insuring the city. They are a big municipal insurance company. They submitted a proposal as well. EMC, who was our prior insurance company, they also had a proposal ready for submittal, but never did turn in a written proposal. They just gave us a verbal amount. Trident's submitted price came in at $92,207. Travelers came in at actually $167,018, and then EMC was in the amount of $145,000. So again, a widespread between the proposals. Trident has been a great company. I can't say how happy we are that we made the switch last year. We saved a lot of money, and again, it's obvious that the savings are again quite steep. Of course, the amount of $92,207 is low because of our claim history. We haven't had very many claims, and I knock on wood when I say that. We've had a couple of very, very good years, and I just want to make sure that all the department heads get credit for that as well, and everybody on staff here in the city, because they've done a very good job of making sure we're cautious and safe with all the work that we do. We are up slightly from last year. $89,000 was the amount from last year, so we're up a few $1,000s. Part of the reason is that we added a type of coverage this year that we hadn't had in the past, which was earthquake insurance. Ron said he felt it a couple weeks back when they had the troubles in Oklahoma, and when we asked, we realized we didn't have coverage, and when you start thinking about the risk that's out there between the damage that could happen in the pools, the water and sewer lines that are underground, there's just a tremendous risk. That portion of the policy was about $1,300, so we went ahead and added that to the policy, and then there was a few other slight increases, but generally it's less than 5% total.
Thank you, Mr. Krischke. Questions, comments, discussion? For Mr. Krischke on the insurance. If you want to ask Ron a question about earthquakes in Oklahoma, go right ahead, but try to stick to the insurance. Probably not. Anything at all? Again, the department heads have done a great job this year, and they will continue to do a good job next year of keeping our claims down and having a safe workplace. It's part of their job. They do a great job of that, and we certainly appreciate that here at the city. Certainly appreciate that. Additional comments, questions, or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, I'll fill it in as I go. Resolution number 11-R-72, resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter an agreement with
Question.
blank for employee health insurance for 2012. A motion.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Krischke,
All right,
please give us the overview, sir.
I'll give you give the overview here. One, we'll have to do an amendment. It's blank because we have 3 quotes that we feel are very good for the city, and it really comes down to not just the cost savings, but also which policy council feels is in the best interest of the city employees. So we'll need a motion to amend and add whatever company is chosen into that, but the current policy that we have is with Mercy or Coventry. Coventry is the actual insurance company. They're kind of an offshoot of the St. John's Mercy system. They provided a quote to the city, and I believe you've got that in your red folders. Their quote is slightly different than last year. If you look out, if you pull the spreadsheet out, it might be easier just to go on the spreadsheet. On the left-hand column is the current policy that we have in place today for 2011. That is a Coventry plan. This is a Mercy Health plan for that Coventry. That is our policy. That gives you parameters in most of the important areas in terms of deductible, co-pays, out-of-pocket pocket expenses. The proposal that we got this year for that very same plan, it's not on this sheet, but for that very same plan with no changes, was at $462 for an employee's coverage. And as you know, the city pays 100% of the employee's health insurance coverage. So that policy went up slightly from last year. In response to some of the other quotes that we had received, Coventry had submitted another proposal, which is the second column over, Coventry Healthcare Package C. That changes things slightly. It has a deductible that's been increased to $1,500 from $1,000. The copay has gone up from $15 to $25, and some of the other pieces of that are the same as our current plan. That particular policy reduces the city's expense and the employee's expense if they have a spouse or a child on the policy to $393 for the employee only. Third column down is an Aetna proposal that was submitted by a number of companies. We had three other proposals besides the one that we got from Gallagher. All of those three, or four, were exactly the same. That policy is very similar to the current policy. The only difference there is that the copay from what we currently have goes from $15 to $30. That particular policy, the premium for an individual for 1 month was $377. And then the other policy that Cigna had, or that Gallagher had put in, was a Cigna policy. It's a level funded, and I'll get to what that is, program. It's very similar to what we have in existence now, except for the deductibles are higher, but the co-pays are about the same. That came in at $383. All in all, when you look at what we currently have in place, what the renewal was for the current proposal, these three other proposals bring the city's expense down significantly. You can see on the bottom that it's anywhere between $100,000 to $115,000 savings to the city. So it's a tremendous savings. The question would be is which is the best policy to offer the city staff? And Laura and I have debated this for the better part of the last week, trying to determine which is the one that we would like to bring forward and recommend. We didn't really have one clear-cut policy that we thought was the very best, is the reason why it's blank for tonight. After talking a little earlier today, the Cigna policy has a lot of advantages to it. It's not exactly the lowest cost policy that we have. It would be in the middle of the two, but the Cigna policy does have some advantages in that it's a level funded plan, which kind of allows us to have kind of a self-funding mechanism. We wouldn't be self-funding, but it kind of has that same feature that if our claims experience is low for the year, we would be eligible for a rebate at the end of the year. So there are some advantages. There's no disadvantages in that we would be covered fully if there was any, large claims that came forward. We would not be at risk, but that would offer up some benefits in that there would be a rebate that would be available to us. Other benefits with that particular plan are the co-pays would stay low at $15 for an office visit, $25 for a specialist office visit. The Aetna proposal is a very good proposal as well. That keeps the deductible low, but it does increase the copay. I guess the bottom line for Laura and I when we looked at this was the significant savings that the city can have, but also in addition, if you'll look at what the employee spouse rates are and the employee child and the family coverage, those expenses are picked up entirely by the employee, and those are also significantly less. The employee spouse on the Aetna is $130 less than what they're currently paying. So there's a big savings for the employees as well, especially those that have their spouse or children on the plan.
Mr. Clickenbeard, just because I had to do this with the personal, I think at $1,500 on a deductible, puts you at a level where you can personally do a health savings account too at your local bank. Have you looked into that? And will, like this Cigna plan on the end here, since it hits that 1,500, could the employee do that on their own?
And we did look into that, and we actually felt that that's the direction we wanted to go in. We thought it maybe would be too quick this year to try to implement it to start on January 1st. There is an option with either, probably with all three, but I know for certain on the Aetna and Cigna plan, is we can do some sort of a hybrid where we can have the more traditional plan and then still offer a health savings account plan as well.
Are they not allowed to do it on their own on this one? I know with mine, because I went from $1,000 to a $1,500 deductible because I could do the HSA on my own that way. I don't know, it might be a question to ask them, but I thought that was the main criteria, was that once you hit a $1,500 deductible, they could go on their own to their bank without it being part of your setup.
Well, and the nice thing is both of the agents from Coventry and Aetna are both here this evening, so we can ask them these questions if we can answer. I thought we've asked pretty much every question I can think of, and Laura can think of, but there's always going to be some that we're going to miss.
Well, it's a huge plus if that's a possibility. If people aren't familiar with that, I'm doing that on my own, but you can set aside whatever money you want. This year it's up to $3,000 into a separate account, and then if you go to the doctor, even your copay at your doctor, you can, whenever you go to, whatever pharmacy and get your drugs, whatever, you can pay with your debit card from your health savings account, and it's all tax deductible. So it'd be something they could take that $1,500 if they think they're going to hit it at some point and slowly build up their deductible account and be tax break. So I don't know, can we ask them that?
Well, we have a flex program in place already so that the employees can put monies aside into the flexible spending account to be used for medical expenses. The only downfall of that particular plan is that you either use it or lose it for the year.
Yeah, that's not a great plan.
The savings accounts are great.
Yeah.
In that whatever you don't use that year, you can continue to roll over from year to year, and you can build up a little bit of a nest egg that you could use for some of your other expenses.
Sure.
There are limits to what you can put in, but we as Laura and I, when we were looking at these, felt that that's the direction that we should be heading, and possibly looking at even some sort of a self-funding type of a program going forward. That's why, to us, the Cigna plan looks appealing because you kind of get that same type of a program started without any of the risk for this year. But we do have the added benefit of possibly getting a rebate if our claims stay low.
Sure.
But the health savings account, I think I'd have to refer either to Jacob or Alan. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacob Salinas. I'm with Gallagher Benefit Services out of Springfield. To address your question regarding the health savings account, there are specific plan designs that are governed by federal law on what is compatible for an HSA or health savings account. The particular plans quoted tonight there, I think, believe it or not, on your spreadsheet, are not HSA compatible, but in our discussions with Jim and Laura, we also discussed, as Jim mentioned, the opportunity to present a second option to provide the employees a choice of whether or not they want to enroll in an HSA. Although the deductible meets the requirements from an HSA standpoint, the plan design has to be HSA compatible from a federal guideline standpoint. So those options are available, and it's something that the city can clearly look at, now or even in the future.
Bidding these out off the top of your head, would the pricing stay near the same? I mean, is there any other major changes that would be made to? And I don't see why we wouldn't want to have that as an option for this coming year. You act like is there some big implementation issue? I mean, it seems like a great thing that the employees can take advantage of or not take advantage of.
It's a little difficult to get that fired off right in the beginning. I know that for us, all that information had to be turned in to our HR department by October 1st in order to have 2012 set up. And we've been doing it for years.
Yeah. There is the implementation of, obviously, the financial institution to house the account, but also with HSAs, I would say in Southwest Missouri, they've been slow moving from the traction standpoint of adoption rate within the commercial population and even the public sector. There's a ramp up time for education. To go from your traditional model of what you've been on with Mercy Coventry for the years you've been on, from the get-go to moving to that direction, it would require some education. There's a paradigm shift. There's a mind of, okay, now I've got to put this money away in an account and pay for those services that would, satisfy my deductible. And in those type of plans, both the medical and the RX deductible apply towards the overall deductible as well. So there are some differences.
I appreciate your answers, and probably a good idea. But if we went this direction, it would be laying the groundwork.
And one of the, and both, I will have to say that between Alan Reed and Jacob both, they gave us a tremendous amount of information on our plans, and it's almost too much because it gets confusing, but yes, the rates would be, similar, and essentially be a little bit lower.
So it's an implementation thing and training, I guess, or...
And to answer your question, Mr. Quickenberry, one thing that we discussed and amongst ourselves was to make sure that we have a plan in place for next year to go that route.
Sure.
That's one thing we want to do. Go ahead, Alan.
With the health savings account, I personally have one in my office, and I've had one for a number of years. But there's a certain education standpoint with the health savings account. It's got so many benefits to that, but we've always had a plan that's had doctor copays. It's got a prescription card. And with a health savings account, whether it's on a group or whether it's on an individual policy, those things go away. You have you can get, there's several, you can work with it several ways. You can go to a higher deductible, no co-insurance, still have doctor copays. That really reduces your premium. To give you a comparison, if you look on, say, Package H, it's not a health savings account, but certainly reduces the premium. But, in Jim's defense, that is we did discuss it. We certainly can provide it. It can be done as an option, where some employees pick it, some don't. But there again, you lose a doctor copay and prescription. And with so many people, if you're used to going to the doctor and it's a $15 copay or $20 copay, there's an education process in there. It certainly has a lot of advantages.
Sure. Thank you, Alan. So we're headed for that. We're headed for that in the future.
I use one too, and it's a great option, and it's
a great option.
Low cost and gives you some flexibility.
We even started talking about potentially having, a full range of a cafeteria plan for benefits where each employee will get so many dollars in essence that they can spend within a bank of benefits that they could use either for their health insurance or their spouse's health insurance, or they can potentially purchase additional dental coverage or vision coverage. So there's other things I think we can offer to the employees, but looking at 30 days until we have to get a new policy in place, and knowing that we'd have to get everybody comfortable with what we're doing, we just felt it would be better to get something in place for 2012 and then do our research, do our homework, and then make sure that we have the proper meetings set up with the employees so everybody is familiar and comfortable with the type of plans that we're looking at for 2013.
Answer your question, Mr. Pepper?
And if we were to do something like that for 2013, how long are quotes good for? Because if you got to have a long education process, you want to start looking at that in July or whatever. Do the quotes stay good that long?
If you can, now these quotes would be for next year and next year only.
Sure, but if you, like next summer you approach this, how soon can you be able to do that?
I think health savings accounts in general, you have to educate them no matter what, no matter which plan you choose. If it's an HSA, you got to educate them on how HSA works. There may be variances between companies, maybe variances on how all that works. But you still have to educate them on the basics. You know what I mean? You still have to educate them on the basics of here's what you're going to be doing. So we could start that, at any time. If that's how we're headed, if that's where we're headed. Okay. Mr. Ward, go ahead.
For example, under Aetna, and you've got the deductible family 1,000 in parentheses 2. Is that 1,000 per individual and a max of 2,000 for the family?
Yes.
And I tell you, my concern is the that lower, I think people would rather pay an extra $5 for a doctor than to have to look at a $500 for a deductible. That's sort of my take. And so I think the lower we can keep the deductible is a better thing for our people.
Yep.
Just out of, and we were thinking along that same line today, trying to determine how many people use their deductible versus not. We have 118 people that are on the city policy.
Okay.
20 satisfied their deductibles this year out of the 118. And then the best that we can tell, and as a real quick overview right before the meeting, we're thinking that there are 600 to 700 office visits per year combined for everyone. So if it's a $500 difference in the deductible times, it's 10,000 on the 20 people that satisfy it. Those same 20 are the ones that are the higher users, I'm guessing, on the copays. So they'd be seeing a little bit of a difference in their deductibles being up, but their copays, if we had one that were a little lesser copay, they could potentially save a few dollars on the copay. Still, the deductibles appear to be a little more costly to the employees.
You're talking about 33 extra doctor visits a year to cover that $500 though. That's a lot of doctor visits.
I was looking at about, say, 600 per year, and if the copays were $15 less than what, 15 versus 30, that would be a savings of $9,000, and then the trade-off would be a higher deductible for that, is what I was trying to go towards.
Go ahead, Mr. Bashirs.
I know it's hard to do this, but has the staff had any input as far as what they would like on these different policies?
No, we did not go out and ask individual staff members. We have talked about it with the department heads, and
In our school situation, we'll have, an insurance committee, for an example, where the staff has a chance to have input on what they would like.
Charlie, to your point, if you look at our current plan, which is what they're used to, and then compare it to all the others, if you just take the employee alone, they're saving off the Coventry plan $683 a year, $876 on that, and then $807 on Cigna. So, and the plans are almost identical across the board.
Every one of these are better.
They are much better, and healthcare costs pretty much anyway, about anywhere. So when we're looking at lowering them, it's a pretty good deal. It comes back to you as council, how you want to approach this particular set of numbers. If deductibles are something you're, fond of, or if low copay is something you're fond of, or if, as Mr. Clinkenbeer said, if HSAs or our office visits, whatever, it's up to you to decide which one of those three that they're recommending. There's a couple of hundred he could probably pull out, but these are the ones that seem to match up the best. Mr. Grooms, and I'll get to you, Mr. Clinkenbeer.
This may be a question you can't answer, Jim, but,
Nice lead-in, Shane. Go ahead.
Well, because I noticed that one of the other big differences between, to me, the two plans that I'm looking at is the prescription drugs, $20, the 20, 40, 70 versus 5.550. Do we know how much the prescription drug program is being used? I said there might be one you might can't
and I
answer.
don't know. I just got a report in, and I don't know if it had that information in it. No, it doesn't.
I mean, because that could actually be worth more than the copays.
And that was the appealing part of the Cigna, was that they had a 4-tier, well, they all have basically a 4-tier, but Cigna started at a $5 deductible for your basic generic preventative type prescriptions, and then it went up from there. Coventry.
And that's basically you go in for a 90-day supply, and $5 is what gets it, right? Am I understanding what you're doing here?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the supply side of things. I do know that whatever the
it is,
prescription amount would be, that would be a $5 prescription, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how the doctors prescribe it.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Mr. Clinkenbeer and Mr. Wilson. Okay.
Mr. Ward's comment on the 1,000, 2,000, scroll down a little, look at the emergency room, that's where they nail you on that deductible, on that, what looks like a better deductible plan. Because the emergency room is $200 copay plus 20%, and most people hit their deductibles when they stay overnight at the hospital or something. So if you get a 10 grand bill, you're paying 20% of it. If you move over a couple of columns, even though their deductible is a little higher, it's a $150 copay. So you could be in there for $150 grand and you're gonna pay $150. So that emergency room is where they get you back on that first plan there. I noticed that when I looked down the line.
And each one of them, as you'll notice, is, each one of you'll notice, you have a higher deductible here or a lower deductible down at the bottom or vice versa. And then you look at prescription drugs. You guys have to balance which one is, you think is best. Tough choice, huh? That's why it was blank.
I just had to do mine at work. I had to do mine at work. Now I gotta do this one too.
Is that a decision that needs to be made tonight, or are you looking for a motion tonight, or is this a first, is that what you're looking
Yeah,
for?
we would prefer it be, we need approximately 30 days to get everyone enrolled and get their cards issued before the end of the year.
So I'd make a motion for that.
Well, I'm curious as to what,
Go ahead.
what two you would put it, I'd like to compare two rather than three. What are the two that you are favoring?
That's, they narrowed it down from, he's got a book of them. They narrowed it down. They narrowed it down.
These
Jim
three.
and I have talked about this probably ad nauseum too much, but, narrowed it down to three, and these are the three that really work very, very well, and very compatible and comparable to what we currently have as far as what the internals of the, plan. You look at the cost and everything else, they're lower, but those, we tried to match up those internals, and Laura and Jim kind of went through this. So I understand what you're saying, Dr. Ward, but it's tough to do.
We pay the employee. We pay the employees premium.
Correct.
So it's the difference between that and either a spouse or family that the family has to pay. So that it's, I mean, they're gonna end up paying either $3 or $4 or $500 if they want the family insured. How many of ours have families insured?
That's a good question. I think Jim actually has that, was it 26?
There's 21 employees that have a spouse also covered, and 6 employees have a child covered.
So out of 118, only about 20%.
It's about $200 less per month than what our current plan is for the recommended to add a spouse. So that's $2,400 a year. That's plenty to go towards a deductible, and if they don't use it, that's $2,400 in their pocket.
You have to remember, each one of these plans for the deductibles are fairly close.
Which is about 190 or so. Or excuse me, it was 818, so it's not quite that much. It was $130 a month or so, 120, 30 for a spouse that they're gonna save adding them on for that sibling.
Say that again.
If you look at what they have to pay for the spouse for the current, it's like $818, correct? The Cigna plan they recommend, you move over to it at $695, so they're gonna save that $120 or so, $125 a month
Okay.
to add a spouse. That's
But they're gonna pay-
$1,500 a year that they're saving if they have to use it towards their deductible. But if they don't go to the hospital or have to use it, they're saving $1,500 a year.
But they're paying $340 a month for them. They're gonna look at what's out of their pocket.
Where are you getting $340? If they have to pay 100% of their spouse, or do we split it?
No, isn't the difference between $383 and $695 about that?
It's about 300 difference, and then the difference between the other.
310?
Yeah, the other one's about 370.
310?
Yeah, but the current's 370.
Yeah, I'm forgetting that one.
Okay. Just wanted to
That-
make sure
that's in the past.
Right, I just wanna make sure the
Okay.
comparison's there.
That's in the past.
Gotcha. Mr. Grooms, I was gonna go to him and I'll come back to you.
Can you clarify something for me up here, our first two columns?
you got deductible and co-insurance. Obviously the deductible's pretty self-explanatory. The co-insurance are these annual maximums that you're gonna, for your
Out of
copay.
pocket, yes, for your 20%.
That's above and beyond the deductible. That's the
Right, so you'd
20%
have-
above and beyond the deductible.
Yeah, so you'd have, under the net, it would be a $1,000 deductible, and then you would have 20% of the next $10,000 would be
Worst
your
case
deductible.
scenario, basically, with the same, if you're going to cap both things,
Your out-of-pocket is 3,000.
is 3,000.
Which is
on that
the next
particular
line?
3,000 and 9,000.
Or 3 and 6 if you move to
Yeah, 3 and 6 with Aetna.
Which there you get back again in the employee's pocketbook, they're saving the money.
Okay.
And it's still St. John's, so they're not changing doctors.
And that is one thing that, one of the main criteria was, we had to be in the same system, which is the St. John's system. We wanted to make sure that everyone, had the option of keeping their doctors, so there was no change in anything, except for when they show up to their doctor, they'd have a different card to present. So none of that would change, whatsoever.
That's Cigna.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really leaves you out there.
But see, they're not doing the payment anyway, so it's okay. So it's right here, so it's different.
Cigna 101 guarantee.
Yeah. Question was how were the companies rated, and all three companies were rated, fine. I did have a rating sheet in here, but all of them were way above average, and they all had reserves,
It's the year what?
hang on a second, I did have a sheet, it's in here. But yes, they all were rated, I know, I'm gonna be stressed to find in here where a rating was. They, Aetna is rated A, Cigna's rated A, Mercy Health Plans, B++, these are AM Best ratings. Any of those are suitable and ample, so that, to me, isn't an issue. I mean, they rated some other ones in here as well. Anthem is rated an A, but they're all excellent companies. And I will add that Coventry, has been our provider. I'm not sure how many years we've had Coventry as our provider. So I know that our employees are happy with the claims service that they've received and the policy that's in place. So, and we've heard nothing but good things about the other two as well.
Well, looking at the Cigna compared to Aetna, the Cigna is saving the city more money than what the current was, but Aetna's looks like it might be favoring the employee more than the city.
And the total overall share between the two is $9,000 a year, out of a $500,000 plus.
I think I prefer Cigna.
Are we entertaining a motion yet?
Not yet, I'm gonna have Mr. Dixon. Mr. Dixon's
I'm
gonna
not
go.
gonna answer anything.
Mr. Dixon's gonna go over the procedure on this particular, since it was blank, as I read it, Mr. Dixon will give us a procedure as we move forward.
It'd be similar to what we did earlier, a motion to amend the resolution by inserting a name, simple majority vote passes the amendment. If the amendment fails, then someone else has to choose another company, and you go on until you finally either get a tie that he breaks, or you get a majority vote on inserting a name.
And I would like to make a motion that we accept Cigna.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept Cigna motion. I have a motion from Dr. Ward and a second from Mr. Harder. I have a motion and a second to accept Cigna to put in place. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. That, it places it in, correct? Now I need a motion to approve.
You're
Gotta read
ready
it.
to vote,
I'm ready to vote.
as amended.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Fine. All right, council, there is nothing on executive session. Need a motion to adjourn. Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.